Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Sawin coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. If anyone has a story that they would like to share here on this show, you can email me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. It could be Bigfoot, Dogman, any kind of paranormal, supernatural. If you think it's a good story, you email me, give me a brief description of the story and contact information, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If anyone wants to contribute to help me with this channel, and I thank you who have made contributions, it's been very much helpful. I appreciate it very much, and thank you. You can go to a link in the description, PayPal me link, click it. It's super easy to use. No big hassle or anything like that, and make contribution there. And today we have a fellow in Tennessee who is sharing a Dogman encounter. He is a ex-military guy. He goes by his call name on this video, Hondo, and he had a Dogman encounter close to the Appalachian Trail with a 7-footer. I don't think he said how tall it was. I was asking him all these other questions, but 7-footer about, he said. Very scary situation. I think you're going to enjoy this. So until then, we will just listen to this story. And on the this coming week, we're going to do the other 2 flashlight giveaway things. I was going to wait until I had a Bigfoot story for that, for the through night, so I can keep the flashlight stuff on the Sasquatch videos, and I'll announce this coming week, toward the end of the week, who the winners are. 3 of them, and we'll have after the 22nd, so that'll be fun. Anyway, let's go listen to Hondo's story. Okay, Hondo, I'd like for you to introduce yourself, and then we will get into your story, please.
Okay, call sign is Hondo, former military guy, 22 years military experience, 13 of that was the Special Forces. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I hunt, I fish, huge dog lover. I live in East Tennessee. Right up in a rural part. We got a lot of mountains around, and live, I'd say, about 7 miles from an Appalachian Trail where it comes to the tip of Tennessee.
Wow, that's a good area right there. Beautiful area too.
Yes, sir, it is.
And where you've been in Special Forces, we'll end up talking some about some of the things you noticed about how this creature moved, because I thought that was quite interesting. It's something I've been trying to say, here and there in the past on different episodes. But, some people wonder why they can't just go out there and capture these things. And but we'll get into that in a little while. Now, where you had your encounter, what was that, in Tennessee?
Yes, sir, it was. It was East Tennessee. A little place called Shady Valley where the Appalachian Trail cuts off and goes through there. A lot of people around here call it the Nick Patch, and I'm sure if any of you folks live here in Tennessee, you know exactly where that's at.
Right.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, the whole area there, especially the Appalachian Trail, and coming down through. Is that still part of the Daniel Boone National Forest?
I think we call it the Cherokee National Forest now, but I believe it does run into Daniel Boone National Forest a little farther up, a little farther northwest.
So in some ways, we have Daniel Boone National Forest goes all the way through Kentucky down into Tennessee, and then it also goes up into Ohio, I guess it is.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a huge area for these creatures to be, isn't it?
No, it's amazing. They've got a lot of cover. They've got water sources, food. you name it. I mean, it's a paradise for these things.
Yeah, and then if you have this other national forest butting into Daniel Boone, it just, I mean, they can travel halfway through the country and never get in any private land, you know.
Oh, that's exactly right. And, you know, there's so many small game trails that they could just go off, you know, and never be seen by people at all.
Yeah. Because, I mean, sometimes you hear people talking and they'll say, well, we're encroaching on their land. There's no place for these things to be. That's not true. You go up into Utah.
No, absolutely not.
You go to Utah and see how much national forest there is. It's amazing. It's a huge, vast areas that people haven't even ever been, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's places around here where human beings have never traded before. You know, that's what people need to understand. You know, these things are not like regular wildlife, like wolves and stuff. Now, yeah, people do encroach on wolves' territory, but these things, you know, I don't know what their territory would consist of, but, you know, I really want to stay away from it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I've heard a lot. A lot of people go squatching. And I was talking to you about the camera that I'm having built. It's got the infrared. It's got a regular camera, and you switch between them. And the engineer who's working on it is talking about mounting it on a helmet. And so, if you would send me a picture of that helmet, and I'll go do some squatching. But the reason I bring that up is I don't know if I don't know if it's wise to go dogmanning, or you know.
You know, I tell you, with all my training and combat experience, I don't plan on going and hunting this thing down anytime soon, unless I'm with a squad of Marines, which they're pretty much devil dogs themselves. Y'all Marines, me, you guys are out there. Appreciate you watching my six.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think I'd go up there with a battalion now. Not at night anyway.
Right, yeah. Well, I guess what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get into your encounter, and then we'll talk about some of the things that you noticed that it did.
Yeah, absolutely. It was back in September, around September 2nd. I just had to get away from everything, a lot of things coming down. I have some PTSD, so just kind of wanted to get away from things. And I haven't been up to Nick Patch since I was, I'd say 15, 20 years. So I decided to go up there, and I packed MRE out. I was only going to be gone for a night. And I thought about grabbing my pistol, but decided not to, that kind of deal. I don't want to carry all that weight. So just went up there. Man, I had a wonderful day. I saw some cougar tracks going up there, which is not rare. There's plenty of cougars up here now. Spent the day uneventful, teeming with wildlife. I'd say the temperature was around 83 degrees, so, it wasn't too cool, but it wasn't too hot either. It was about perfect to go hiking.
All right.
So I'd say it was probably around 9 o'clock when it started really getting dark. I decided to, stop, make a small little fire, and kind of camp out. And I'd say about maybe 11:30, something like that. I noticed everything just got dead quiet. There wasn't nothing moving. And you get that feeling that you're being watched, and everybody gets that feeling. Especially in the woods at night. You're a little jumpy anyway. But I started smelling this. It smelled like blood and wet dog. It was really bad, but the scent of cedar was very, very strong. So, what kind of set me on alert, so I kind of turned my eyes to keep away from the fire to try to get some of my night vision back, and that's when I heard the twig break. And I turned around, and I saw what I thought was a bear at first. it kind of stepped out of the shadows, but then it stood up. And just the first thing I noticed was the arms. It just this horrible feeling come over me. It's like, my God, that's not a bear. Kind of what the hell is that? And I got up on the balls of my feet, ready to run the hell out of there, but kind of thought better of it. And it stepped out. And this thing was not a bear. It didn't have legs of a bear. Definitely did not have, the arms of one. This thing had fingers. Long fingers. And I don't know how long the claws were. You're scared. You see all sorts of crap. You can say they're, 10 inches long. But I noticed the head. It wasn't a bear's head. It looked more like a wolf. When I hear people talk about Dogman, I don't know if this is something different or what, but it had more of a wolfish head to me than anything.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a general term, but typically they have a wolf-looking head. Sometimes, sometimes even baboonish looking, or Doberman. It's just several different types, but one of the most common, I think, is the wolf head, and people call it Dogman. I think it's more or less, saying it's canine-like, and because most people know what a dog is,
Right, yeah. And just about everybody's seen a dog.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Us stupid humans, we just use the general term,
Yeah, just keep it simple, just keep it simple.
Right. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
There was nothing simple about this thing. It got down on all fours and charged at me, but then stopped as I pulled out my knife. I swear I believe this thing knew exactly what the hell a knife was.
Yeah.
And, that's what really shocked me was the intelligence that this thing had. That, it took a step back and then got back up on its hind legs and walked back, I would say, about 5 meters, then got back down on all fours. And it would charge again, then I would, kind of lean back. I would yell the whole time it charged, "Hey, stop, get the hell out of here." Just about anything I could think of to say. Wow. But each time, it was so, I could feel the weight of this thing. This thing had to have weighed at least 400 pounds. I know the largest black bear I've killed was 370 pounds, and that was a huge black bear. This thing was 5 times as big as that was. It had to have been. Yeah. So, I'm just guesstimating at a weight. But the agility and the quickness that this thing had was just unbelievable. There was no way I could outrun it, even through thick brush. There's absolutely no way anybody could outrun these things.
Right.
And, I really, I thought people was crazy. Man, they're full of it. What the hell's people been smoking, seeing these things? This is the first time, I've ever experienced anything like this.
Right. So this was like the first opportunity you got to see it, and this encounter went on for like 2 hours, though, right?
Oh yes, sir. It would get into the shadows, and it would walk on my flanks. This thing was using tactics. When I say the intelligence level of this thing was unbelievable, it was using tactics that I've seen before and have actually used myself.
Yeah, that was what we were talking about, yesterday. It was actually using tactics that was not only light management but sound, and it was using all the different tactics, even with the smell of that cedar. I believe it was even using smell. It was trying to manage its visibility, its sound that it was putting out. It was managing the smell that it had, because I think they know they smell like blood and, wet dog or whatever, being a dog.
Oh, absolutely. This thing was strong scent of cedar. So, like we talked about, I swear I think it was rolled around in cedar to mask it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about these things that much, but yeah, it was using tactics. It was trying to get on my flank. I literally had to really listen and use my nose to try to get the scent of this thing to keep, facing it, because I believe if I'd turned my back for a split second, I believe it could have been on me.
Oh, yeah.
I really do.
And do you think
they were that fast?
And it was also using psychological warfare, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. This thing was fantastic at using that, because it scared the hell out of me. It was using verbal. You could hear it growl every now and then, but this was a growl that would actually, it felt like it was reaching down inside of me.
Yeah.
I've never, I've heard a bear chatter its teeth, like a old sow bear warning you with their teeth. If you ever hear that, kind of a woodish click, like two little pieces of wood you click together. That's how a female bear sounds when you're encroaching on her territory. It was actually using stuff like that, I believe.
Right.
But I know for sure it wasn't a bear. Bears just do not act like that, and they definitely don't look like that.
Right. So when it backed up off that first time, and did it back into the brush, and then what did it do from there?
It did. It got back into the shadows, and I've got laurels. If anybody's been up on the Appalachian Trail, you've always got those real thick laurels. This was a clear, and I'd say around 30 meters in diameter, but had wood surrounding it with some thick brush. But this thing moved really silent in that brush. You really had to be listening to hear where it was at, and it would stay in the shadows, and then it wouldn't bust out. It would just kind of creep out, and I would have to catch it out of the corner of my eye to actually see where this thing was, coming from. And it continuously would do this. It would wait. It really had patience. It would wait 15, 20 minutes, then pop out somewhere else. And sometimes it would feign a charge, then back up. And sometimes it would get within, I would say, 20, 25 feet, just too close for comfort,
Right. Do you think he was trying to get you to run, get out of that clearing?
I think it was, but I think once it decided that I wasn't going to run, that I was a little smarter than it was hoping I would be. I think it tried different tactics of just catch me on my flank or catching my back turned to it where it could just come on in.
Right. And so he was circling around doing this over and over, hoping you would probably hit the trail so that he could sneak up close to you.
Oh, absolutely. First taught, if you're a hunter, you never run from a predator. You never turn your back on a predator, because they can't outrun you. I don't care how fast you are.
Right.
They'll always catch you.
Right. So what did this thing look like in the starting, like with the legs?
With the legs, it actually had what I would call paws. It looked like any natural wolf or a big dog, but just twice as big. It had paws, but elongated in the back, kind of like a big dew paw. You know what I'm saying? Padded foot. The legs came up, and it's kind of reverse of like a dog's. It almost looked like a dog's hind legs.
Yeah.
But it looked like kind of a skinny waist. I don't think this thing eats too often, evidently. But when it come up to the chest, I mean, this thing was extremely muscular. And the chest, it wasn't covered in hair, I guess, like a Sasquatch like people see and stuff. It had a real fine, coarse, long hair. Now, going into the arms, it had humid arms almost, you know. Of course, hair all over them. But the fingers is what really got me, were like human fingers. They were extremely long, ending in what looked like very long claws, at least, I'd say 3.5 to 4 inches long. I mean, you know, I wasn't that close, so I really don't know how big they were. But it was just an extremely muscular animal with, you know, it looked like a wolf's head. It had a very long muzzle with 3 sets of fangs on top, starting with the 2 most prominent, you know, kind of like a wolf does, were the longest, and then they kept getting a little shorter going through the back, the, you know, 3rd set of fangs. And I believe it had 2 on bottom. I'm not for sure. It didn't show its teeth a lot. It would curl up, you know, kind of like a wolf does when they're warning you to stay away from them or communicate.
Wow. And so it had 3 sets of fangs on top?
That's what it looked like to me. I mean, of course, you know, my adrenaline was pumping by then, so, you know, I mean...
Well, I've heard similar to it. And did these fangs go straight down, or did they have a curve, or what did they look like?
They curved back, you know, just like a normal wolf's fangs would do. It had a long, hairy neck, you know, it had hair going all the way down the neck on both sides, you know, front and back. Shoulders were extremely muscular. I mean, this thing, it looked like it was a bodybuilder, for God's sake, like The Rock or one of those wrestlers you see. I mean, he was a good-sized animal, whatever it was.
Right.
But the ears were more prominent. They were a lot longer than anything else. It almost, you know, if it wasn't so damn scary, it would kind of look stupid with the ears this thing had, you know, like I was talking about. Very long, not as wide, but, you know, pretty long. So this thing evidently had excellent hearing.
Was the ears long, sticking straight up, or kind of...
They were kind of sticking straight up, maybe leaning out a little bit, but not too much. Kind of like it's hard to explain.
Okay, so
I'm trying to remember.
It was kind of not exactly like a Doberman that has his ears cropped, but out to the side and a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Was the ear pointy, or?
Very pointy. I mean, it ended in a prominent point. You know, it wasn't rounded like a wolf or a bear's ears, you know, are kind of rounded top. I mean, they were very pointy. They're sharp.
Wow. And were they wide, like they were made for catching, or were they kind of narrow? Or
they were narrow, going up about mid-waist, and they would get a little wider. Trying to remember, but I believe they got a little wider as they went up. It is definitely for capturing, you know, sound. I mean, this thing has to be an absolute terrific hunter.
Yeah. And the hair on the thing was how long was the hair?
You know, I've often thought about this. It was definitely longer than bear's hair, you know, especially in wintertime. Black bear and a grizzly they'll have longer hair during those seasons. It definitely had longer hair than that long, shaggy hair, color of black and brown, maybe a tint of gray. Hey, this thing could be like me getting old, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, what about the eyes?
The eyes, if the firelight caught them just right, they were almost the color of embers. What really got me was the eyes. They were, they were kind of like fire's embers. I mean, they were, they didn't glow in the dark or anything like that, except when the firelight hit them. That's when they were very prominent, and you could see that the eyes, they could have been a yellowish orange in color, with natural light.
Right. And you think maybe that the eyes were made to gather light real well in the dark?
Oh, yes, sir. This thing absolutely has perfect night vision. If there is a perfect predator out there, it would have to be this thing.
Right. Now, when it was on all fours, the way that these things seem to be made, you noticed that it had shoulders. It doesn't have like a dog body. Like if you stand a dog up, his arms are going to be kind of out front, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, this thing had shoulders on it. Like you said, it definitely wasn't like a dog's. I mean, this thing was broad and wide and just built for speed and strength and agility. I mean,
Right.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, honest to God, I'm getting chill bumps now thinking about it. I'm not afraid of. I'm not afraid of a lot out in the woods. I mean, I'm really not. But this thing really scared the hell out of me.
Right.
And it took every fiber of my being not to turn and run.
Right. Do you think it was just trying to intimidate and get you to run, or do you think it was just it was wanting to really actually try to get you?
Earlier that day, I saw 4 hikers go up on past me. So I think this thing singled me out because I was alone. And I really think it did want to kill me. But I think, when it noticed that I pulled that bolo knife out, it knew what that was. It might not have knew exactly what it was, but it knew that it could hurt, that I could do it some harm.
Right.
Now, whether I could have or not, that's a different story. I believe I'd have sure as hell tried if it did come on in.
Yeah.
I mean,
it would be a potential that it might bleed out later, and it didn't want to risk that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. But I think, I think that, it used different tactics to see what worked best for it. And in the end, it just decided that either I wasn't worth it or, maybe I was encroaching on its territory. Like I said, I haven't been up there in at least 15 years, so I don't know. And I guess I'm the only idiot that decided to stay up there that night.
All right. Yeah. Well, when this thing came, when you first saw it and stuff, did you ever at any point pray?
Absolutely. Yes, I mean, I didn't dare close my eyes, but I was praying. I actually made peace with God. I actually felt that I was going to die. And I believe at one point, and this is more out of fear than bravery, so if you're all listening, this was more out of fear than anything else. I said, I am prepared to die. How about you? And I might have actually screamed it. I remember saying those words. I might have used a nastier version of what I just said, but,
Yes.
I think that, I don't think I know. God was definitely looking out for me that night. If he wasn't, I wouldn't be here,
Right. And at some point you were just like, this is too much stress. Just do it if you're going to try it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I think this was maybe like an hour into it. I said, I don't know how long I can keep this up. Sitting there on the balls of my feet. and actually trying to rest my legs, I would kind of stand up on the balls of my feet to get ready, kind of like a linebacker would. That's kind of how we're trained in knife fight and special forces.
Yeah.
And, you always stay on the balls of your feet because you're more agile that way, and you can keep your balance and move a lot faster than being flat-footed.
Yeah, and, the thing may have noticed that you kind of looked like you were set to, do a pretty good job on defending yourself. And,
well, I hope I did too. I wish I could say that I probably scared it worse than it scared me, but I'd be lying to everybody and myself for saying that. Was this thing afraid of me? Absolutely not. But I believe it knew that I was going to do some damage on the way out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go down swinging.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw.
And it may be, because I kind of wonder about what these creatures really are. It may be the preying that had protection around you that this thing knows, that it can sense it.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely. I got the feeling, like we was talking about yesterday, I believe this thing is malevolent.
Yeah.
I believe that, it is evil. In every sense of the word, this thing is absolutely evil. And, I definitely would advise people don't go looking for these things, man. I've had a lot of training. And, together I probably got and combined over 10 years combat experience. And I don't think I'm going to go looking for this thing,
Mm-mm. No, I don't think I think it would be stupid because if there was several, a pack of them or something, they're just so stealthy. If you went, you would have to be in a clearing and lure them in to do anything. They'd be too fast,
Oh, absolutely. This thing used tactics that just really, to this day, still amazes me. Thinking back about it, the tactics and intelligence that these things really have, and it was using on me.
Yeah. Right.
It was quiet. I didn't even hear it. And I believe it stayed downwind from me until, it didn't have any other possible way to come in except for that small little inlet that comes through that brush.
Right.
And, luckily it stepped on that twig, or who knows. My bones could still be laying up there. You never know.
Yeah. Do you know of any missing persons from up in that area?
Not lately, but I do know, there's been quite a few cases of people that's, become missing up on Appalachian Trail.
Right.
So now whether this thing had lunch, I don't know. Could very well possibly be because no bodies have been found. And, I know a couple of years ago somebody had been missing. They actually sent bloodhounds up there and they actually lost the trail. So, could they have been carried off? Who knows?
Yeah.
We just don't know enough about these things.
Right. They definitely are a prime suspect, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely the top of my list now.
Yeah. So now that now that you've seen one of these, would you go camping by yourself out in that area?
I will say this. I'm not going to go back up there anytime soon, especially overnight, unless I am well armed. But even then, I don't think I'm going to alone.
Right.
And, that's the honest to God truth. I've never been afraid to go camping out in the woods by myself. I've been doing it since I was 8 years old. I used to worry my mom to death. My dad said, he's fine. Dad's ex-special forces too. So he taught me from a very young age how to handle myself, respect for animals and nature, and they'll respect you back. If you don't, it could kill you. You know, Mother Nature is a serial killer by any means.
Yeah. I mean, I know that some people wander off the trail and they can get lost and things like that, but usually you can, you know, if they know about where you were, they can track you down. And
oh, absolutely.
You know, it makes you wonder, like the Bigfoot and the Dogman thing, how much of those are responsible for the missing persons. And but anyway, that's a crazy, you know, looking creature, that's for sure. 3 fangs, man, that's on top. That's
just, you know, I mean, you know, it was enough to literally scare the hell out of me. And I've seen a lot, and you know, I've seen humanity at its best and at its absolute worst. And this thing was absolutely the epitome of evil. And you know, if any of you guys are out there thinking about going looking for these things, man, don't be stupid. Seriously, use your head. Right. I've had a lot of training, and I'm not going up there looking for it again.
Yeah.
I pray to God I never see it again.
If you go up there, go with other people and be armed. And well, I appreciate you, Hondo, for sharing. And
absolutely.
You've got my number, man. Anytime you want to holler at me, just go ahead and do it, and we'll talk. And I'm saving your email and your number, so.
Yes, please do. Absolutely. If anybody around here, you know, around me, has got any problems, they could give me a call. Matter of fact, my whole team retired together, so we're all here local.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. If anybody, you know, needs some kind of help like that, email me and I'll forward their information to you or something.
Absolutely.
Cool. All
definitely.
Right. Well, thanks, Hondo. Stay on the line, and I'll go ahead and finish this up. Thank you all for watching. If anybody has a story or anything they want to share here on the show, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. If you want to contribute to help with this show, you can go to a PayPal me link in the description, and you can contribute there. And every contribution is very much appreciated. And until next time, God bless, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.